Welcome, everybody, to the Pinfall Podcast. Just me here today. I am your host, Mark. No co host. I'm normally the co host. There's no host here. Therefore, I am your interim host. We've got an Impact Wrestling for you today. A huge main event, 6-man elimination match to determine who will face Josh Alexander at Bound for Glory. Eddie Edwards was the one to come away with that, and it's a very fun 24 minute long match. Let me see, 27-minute match. So very fun. It was a very fun episode of Impact all around. There was some filler, nothing matches thrown in there, like Kenny King versus Heath. Savannah Evans versus Killer Kelly was kind of one to power up Killer Kelly. We had Chris Bay versus Mike Bailey, a very fun X Division title match that gets close to being match of the night, if not match of the night. And we had the main event. I feel like there was another match. Oh yeah, we started off with Black Taurus versus Laredo Kid versus Ray Horace versus Trey Miguel in a fatal 4-way. That was fucking awesome. Some sick luchador action to start off the show, and Black Taurus came out looking like a star. We got some stuff in us for next week, like Mia Yim and Jordan Grace facing Vexed for the Knockouts tag titles. We got Jessica, formerly known as Havoc, will be making her debut as Jessica, her debut match. And Carl Anderson and Mike Bennett will face each other one-on-one. And if Carl Anderson wins, Maria Kanellis is banned from ringside for their tag title shot. But before we get to the actual recap of the episode, in tonight's episode, we got some news. I know Liz is normally the one to do the news, but it's going to be me this time around. So first things first, let's talk about the G1 Climax. Now, we had the 32nd G1 Finals today, or rather last night, if you're in America. If you're in Japan, I believe it was yesterday. An incredible match between Okada and Will Ospreay. Absolutely phenomenal. But Okada won for the second year in a row, beating out Will Ospreay. I know a lot of people are very upset about it. I am one of those people. I'm not very upset, but I'm pretty upset about it because the whole story in the match was Ospreay has never beaten Okada clean, and he's been living in Okada's shadow for 2 years now. So he needs to get a step over Okada, and it was even to the point where Ospreay was using the finishers of everyone who's ever beaten Okada, including the high fly flow from Hiroshi Tanahashi, which I guess is also the tsunami from Jonah. I think he used the phenomenal forearm at one point from AJ Styles, and then he used the Styles Clash. He also used a V-trigger from Kenny Omega. Tried to use the one-winged angel, but failed. And then Okada is your G1 32 winner. And will face Jay White at Wrestle Kingdom. Some other news. We've got... let's talk about what's in all the headlines. NXT UK. So WWE announced today that NXT UK will be changing. They'll be rebranding to NXT Europe. And so NXT UK will be going on hiatus until they rebrand in 2023. However, this also came with a bunch of releases. And those releases are as follows: Flash Morgan Webster, Wild Boar, Mark Andrews, Amel, Jack Stars, Ashton Smith, Dave Mastiff, Amelia McKenzie, Kirsty Bosley, who was a ring announcer, Sam Gradwell, Danny Luna, Shaw Samuels, Nina Samuels, Primate, and Kenny Williams. Now, there are some interesting names that are not on that list. I think it's safe to assume that anyone not on that list could be getting called up to NXT Prime, or just held on until NXT Europe starts. Some of those names are the entirety of De Familia, which is Teoman, Rohan Raja, and Charlie Dempsey. Also missing is Eddie Dennis. He's not on that list. Oliver Carter and Ashton Smith. Ashton Smith is on there. So Oliver Carter's still around, but his tag partner Ashton Smith was released. That's really interesting, and I think Ashton Smith has actually been out on injury, which is why we've only been seeing Oliver Carter appear. Let's see we saw some names appear on NXT, like what's her name? Blair Davenport, formerly known as Bea Priestley, Gallus, Tyler Bate. Trent Seven is not on this list, so it's pretty safe to say he'll be kept around by WWE. Ilya Dragunov obviously will be kept to go towards NXT, if not straight to the main roster. But he is out on injury right now, so we won't be seeing him anytime soon. Meiko Satomura, because she's a champion, I assume we'll still be seeing her for a while. Trying to think who else, because Amel is on this list. Amelia McKenzie. Isla Dawn is not on the list. That's really all. What's her name? Valkyrie. Valkyrie. So, yeah, something Valkyrie. Let's see, NXT UK roster. Let me just find the notable names. Obviously, Trent Seven's one of them. Aoife Valkyrie, that's her name. Aaliyah James was not on there. Now, some of these people might also be freelance and not entirely full-time, which wouldn't necessitate a release. Rampage Brown was not on that list. Like I already mentioned, Eddie Dennis, Isla Dawn. Ginny was not on that list, and knowing that she, I think, is married to Gunther, or in a relationship with, will probably be seen on the main roster soon. Let's see, who else? Noam Dar. Shaw Samuels was released, but not Noam Dar. That's very interesting, and hopefully we do see Noam Dar on NXT or somewhere in America soon, before maybe going to NXT Europe or just staying on the main roster. T-Bone, who was in a faction with Primate and Wild Boar, or maybe just Primate at that point, or Wild Boar, whichever one stayed. And then T-Bone looks to be the only one left, along with Eddie Dennis. And Zaya Brookside is not on that list as well. She's not. So, and this is also hot on the heels of WWE announcing that NXT Worlds Collide will be happening the same day as AEW All Out, so September 4th. Little competition there between the two companies. Whether or not they'll happen at the same time, I don't know, but it's definitely going to be a decision, choosing one or the other. But Worlds Collide is going to be a huge event. It's their next pay-per-view coming up. Very excited for that. In other news, it seems that right now there might be a little bit of an AEW civil war going on, or at the very least some tension arising from two different sides amongst each other. So for those that remember and watched Dynamite yesterday or have heard the news, CM Punk made a promo that shot fire at Hangman Adam Page. It's very much not scripted. It wasn't what he was supposed to be doing. And Brian Alvarez mentioned some more details about what could be happening here. He said a lot of people are behind Hangman, but he's a well-liked guy, so they're mad at CM Punk for calling him out like this. But some of the people on Punk's side are mad at the people who are mad at Punk. So it's essentially friends of Punk versus friends of Hangman. And considering that Hangman, we've never heard anything bad about Hangman while we've heard so many stories about people hating Punk, like Eddie Kingston, most notably, but we don't know how real that is. But apparently it started when Hangman was unprofessional, and Punk followed it up by making Hangman look like a fool. So I don't know if they mean unprofessional in like on TV or backstage. So that's when Punk called him out and decided to call him out as he did. Fightful continued reporting. They reported that there was a chance Punk wasn't going to show up on Dynamite last night at all. And Punk has been expressing his displeasure with AEW, or just displeasure in general, that he even threatened to quit. There's no confirmed reason why. Fightful doubts that it has anything to do with any long-standing beef with anyone on the roster, such as Colt Cabana. But that still leaves the window open for other things he might be displeased about. And to add on to that, nobody was aware of what Punk was going to say about Hangman. No one knew. Everyone that works at AEW was surprised, or at least everyone that Fightful heard from. So, where does this lead? Is this a work? Is Hangman trying to bring shit? Like, get him versus Hangman at All Out? Or is this just Hangman, trying to bring his beef to TV? Don't know. We'll have to find out, or just watch the fire burn. And last piece of news, Shawn Michaels, this is reported by WrestlingNews.co. Shawn Michaels has been promoted to WWE Vice President of Talent Development Creative. This is hot off the heels of the announcement of NXT UK rebranding to NXT Europe, and Brandon Thurston pointed out that Michaels has been given the new title, and he says that this is the first time he's seen Shawn Michaels with a title, with a job title, being an executive. So who knows where that's gonna lead? It might just even be just a label given to him. We know he stepped up when Triple H had his heart issues, so maybe this is just him feeling more comfortable in the position that he's in, and then them making it official by giving him a title. So we'll see. We'll see if that has any effect on anything, if anything will change at all. Probably not. All right. Let's talk about tonight's Impact Wrestling. So, we started off the night with Black Taurus versus Laredo Kid versus Rey Horus versus Trey Miguel. All luchador action. And this was a super fun match. I normally rely on Liz for these matches. It was very tough. Having this fatal 4-way start us off, and then a 6-man elimination match ending the night. It was a very tough night taking notes when you're not used to it on matches. So we start off, everyone's ganging up on Black Taurus because he's the biggest guy in the room. We get a bunch of lucha shit, a lot of flipping back and forth between everyone. Laredo Kid disposes of each of the wrestlers one by one, and then Taurus takes his turn, disposing of each of them one-on-one. Miguel gives a Hurricane Rana off of the apron, sending Horus flying into Taurus. We get a bunch of one-on-ones between everyone. So we get some more diving lucha shit, some spinny shit. I think this was Horus corkscrew. Oh yeah, Horus gives a corkscrew dive off the top rope onto both Black Taurus and Trey Miguel. Laredo Kid then moonsaults onto all three of them. We get a crucifix bomb onto Taurus. I think that was from Horus. And then we get a tornado DDT to Taurus. And then a flipping DDT from Laredo Kid to Trey Miguel. And then Taurus comes in, gives a newly branded Destination Hellhole from Taurus to Laredo Kid to win. Brand new name. We had Crazy Steve on commentary. He told us the new name of that move. I didn't quite catch the old name for it, but that is the new name, the Destination Hellhole. It's a really cool driver. Alright, so we go backstage, we see several men thirsting over Killer Kelly. Those men include two random ass people, Zicky Dice and Johnny Swinger. Zicky says, "Swinger, can we have her down in the dungeon for a seminar?" Tasha Steelz then walks in. She says, "You guys love Killer Kelly? You guys haven't seen a Tasha Steelz match, haven't you? I am a former two-time Knockouts Tag Team Champion and a former Knockouts World Champion." Killer Kelly then walks in. Tasha says, "I was just admiring your debut, sweetheart. Don't take it personal. This is the Flava division. I keep my eye on everyone here." Killer Kelly kind of gets in her face and she says, "I don't take anything personally. This is just a fun little game. But if you're keeping an eye on me, then keep an eye on me." Savannah Evans gets in between them and she said, Kelly says, "If you're going to be in the way, I can remove you, either here or in the ring tonight." She looks at Tasha and says, "You better be watching." We then get another promo, this time from Josh Alexander and Rich Swann. Rich says this 6-man elimination is the opportunity I've been looking for. Josh says, "Yeah, as champion, I'll face whoever wins, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to fight you. As long as I'm champion, if you're in that match tonight, it'll be the fight of your life." Vincent then walks in from Honor No More. He says, "You had such a war with Shelly, you think they'd give you a rest to celebrate. They keep racing you around until you collapse," talking about Impact racing him around. "Look at how the winds are blowing for us. We won at Emergence and have the tag title shot. Maybe Eddie will be #1 contender for your title. Maybe your luck will run out. Think about what they're doing to you. You'll need a friend eventually. Maybe that friend will be Ethan Page." Probably not. We then get Kenny King versus Heath. I gotta be honest, I didn't really pay attention to much of this match. It was just very boring. Heath gives a wake-up call to win. It was pretty lame. But then Honor No More come out to beat up Heath. Eddie wants PCO to hit Heath because PCO's kind of just been standing there. PCO hesitates, and then Heath fights back and runs away. We then get a promo from Motor City Machine Guns and Kushida. Sabin says, "We all lost. Shelly, you had one of the best matches I've seen against Josh Alexander, but we lost to Violent by Design. There were 3 of them and 2 of us. Next week is going to be all 3 of us." Shelly says, "Kushida, when you came to Impact, did you want to Did you want to team with me? Team with Sabin, or fight Violent by Design every week? Definitely not fight Violent by Design. I used to say 2 bodies, 1 mind. Now it's 3 bodies, 1 mind. It's one thing to face a machine gun. It's another thing to face a DeLorean. This is a time machine, and Violent by Design, you're going to find out firsthand." Then we get a promo from Honor No More. Eddie says, "What is going on? We won an emergence. This should be a celebration. How did that happen?" Um, Mike Bennett says, "How does this keep happening? 6 in the ring, and this happens." Um, Matt Taven says, "When are we getting our title shot?" OGK then leave and talk to Scott D'Amore. Taven says, "I think we got off on the wrong foot. We did everything you asked of us. When is our title shot?" Scott says, "Dr. Ross says Gallows is out for a couple weeks. We need to wait for him to heal." Maria says, "Sounds like you're delaying the inevitable. Right now, I think they're just too lazy. I don't have time for laziness. Make it a handicap if you must. Handicap match if you must." Scott says, "I'm not shocked you're trying to get unfair odds. If you want that now, next week Carl Anderson versus Mike Bennett. If Carl wins, you're banned from ringside." Then we get Savannah Evans versus Killer Kelly. It's a pretty short, I think about a 3-minute match. Killer Kelly gives a sleeper right out the gate. Savannah goes to choke Killer Kelly, but Kelly invites it, grabs the second hand to choke her. She starts smiling. She gives a headbutt to Savannah, and then a killer drop kick in the corner. Kelly can't get Savannah up for the suplex though, and Savannah gives a huge German suplex to Killer Kelly. Kelly then gets in the killer clutch to Savannah, making her tap for the win. Then we get a promo from Rosemary, Taya Valkyrie, and Jessica. Rosemary says, "We weren't ready. Now we're no longer the tag champs." Jessica's like, "I was helping." Rosemary's like, "Yes, she tried." Taya says she tried. Rosemary says, "We're going to have to make do with what we have. We're going to regroup. We'll reforge, retrain Jessica, and reacquire those tag titles when the time is right." Jessica says, "Oh, the time is right. The time is next week, because I talked to Gail Kim, and my debut match is next week." Rosemary says, "All right, you have your debut match next week." She gets a little confused. "Jessica, we are going to get you ready." Taya is going to go shopping for a new battle coat. In the meantime, just listen to us. Then we get a interview with Jordynne Grace. She says, the thing about me, I didn't win this title to hide. I won it to face everyone." Masha, I cannot fucking talk today. Masha is at the top of that list. Obviously, I can't speak for Mia, but Mia has all my respect. That was one of the hardest hitting matches of my life. Next then walks in Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo. Chelsea says, "Oh, poor Jordan. Nobody likes you." Deonna says, "We are the 2 most loved people here in Impact. That's why we won the Knockouts tag titles first try." Jordan says, "Maybe I'll take both of you on at the same time." Mia walks in and says, "Don't put words in my mouth. Jordan doesn't have to stand alone. I'll gladly stand with her. Why don't we do it for the nice titles?" Jordan says, "Are you scared?" They agree. And then when Vexed walk away, Jordan and Mia finally shake hands, because that was they never got to shake hands after their match at Emergence. Alright, then we get a sick match between Chris Bay and Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship. So Chris Bay, to start off, gets overpowered and outskilled by Mike Bailey. He's considering walking up the ramp and just leaving, but he comes back and starts dominating. He finesses out of a whip into the corner post. He's tossed off the rope, but hangs on and gets a pouncing DDT onto Bailey. Bailey then gives his knees to the ribs to Chris Bay, but Bay dodges a kick and counters it into a roll-up. Gives a flatliner to Bailey, and then Bailey's out on the floor. Chris Bay tries to tope onto Bailey, but he overshoots him, just barely grazes his back. Back in the ring, Bay tosses Mike Bailey balls first onto the rope, and then double stomps Bailey on top of the rope, and then Bailey tries to do his repeatedly spinning kick. He Bey counters that into a last ride, and then Bailey, while Bey is trying to do his I forget the name of it, but the thing where he leaps off the ropes, I think it's into a cutter. Bailey 619s Bey's legs and trips him. Bailey goes up to the top turnbuckle, or the middle rope, and Bey tries to counter him, tries to knock him off, but Bailey quickly double kicks Bey's stomach and gets the Ultimo Weapon in to win. Great, great, great match. Amazing. Which, at this point, it's what you kind of got to expect from Mike Bailey. He's one of the best in-ring wrestlers of the year right now. Alright, so then we get a Brian Myers promo. He runs into Bhupinder. Brian Myers just like, great match the other night. Haha. Bhupinder pushes Brian Myers. They kind of exchange couple soft strikes. But Bhupinder says, you pissed me off and this is far from over. Bhupinder's like, I'm about to gain 1,000 followers on Twitter thanks to bots. Then I'll be qualified for that title. Alright, and so that's our last promo, and then we have our main event. Eddie Edwards versus Steve Maclin versus Bandito versus Rich Swann versus Moose versus Sami Callihan. Winner becomes #1 contender for the Impact World Championship. So we start off with Swann and Bandito. And throughout the course of the match, Sami Callihan's kind of using the tags as a strategy, trying not to be part of any pinfalls. Another storyline happening in the match is Moose having beef with everyone. He's arguing with people, and he is exchanging tags with Maclin, which does piss Maclin off, motivating later on Maclin rolls up Moose to eliminate him. But before we get there, Rich Swann starts fighting back against Maclin. Sami Callihan then gets aggressive when he's in the ring against Maclin, and then Moose tries to help Maclin, but Sami takes care of him. Moose spears Sami, eliminates him, and then Maclin quickly rolls up Moose to eliminate him. Sami Callihan then drags Moose out of the ring, then gets back in the ring to club Maclin. And then Bandito takes advantage, gives a 21 plex to Maclin to eliminate him. I don't know why I said Maclin tags. Oh, when did I write that? Well, we get Bandito and I guess Maclin. Well, maybe I meant Eddie. Eddie tags in off Rich Swann. He lays out Bandito, and then Bandito starts fighting back. Eddie slaps Rich Swann to tag out instead of just normal tag. He just slaps him. Bandito and Rich Swann team up against Eddie. Bandito gives a Spanish fly to Swann, and then a pop-up cutter for a near fall. Swann gives a cutter of his own for a near fall, but Eddie secretly tags in off of Rich's foot and gives a Boston Knee Party to Bandito to eliminate him. And then Rich Swann gives a Hurricane Rana to Eddie from the top turnbuckle. Eddie grabs Kenny, his famous kendo stick, and cracks it over Rich's head while the ref is trying to pull Rich back into the ring. Not looking at all, I guess. That gives him a near fall, though. Swann then counters Eddie's Tiger Driver with a roll-up, but Eddie gives a Blue Thunder Bomb to counter Rich Swann's cutter. And then Eddie gives a Boston Knee Party. That's another near fall. And then finally he wins with a Die Hard Driver. And so Eddie Edwards will be facing Josh Alexander at Bound for Glory. So that's our recap of tonight's Impact. Let's talk about some bests of the night. If you have a question for me, since it's just me, leave it in the chat now. Love to answer your questions. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. I'll get to it we will get to it in the next one because Liz will actually be here on Wednesday next week. Maybe she will. We'll see. I don't know what day she leaves, but then if you're watching YouTube, leave a comment and we'll get to it in the next one. If you're listening on Spotify, join us at twitch.tv/The Pinfall Podcast to chat with us live, or DM us on Twitter at Pinfall Podcast. We love to talk to you, love to hear from you, love to answer your questions. All right, and before we get to the bests of the night, let me give a top 10 wrestlers of pro wrestling update. This is all in kayfabe, wins, losses, all that shit considered. So number 10 is from Gato Move, the Super Asia Champion, Balian Aki. Number 9, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. Number 8, he is the IWGP United States Champion, Will Ospreay. Number 7, from BJW, Daisuke Sekimoto. From number 6, former IWGP Tag Team Champion, Great-O-Khan. Number 5, from Dragon Gate, Yuki Yoshioka. Number 4, from Dragon Gate, Kaito Ishida. Number 3, the AEW Interim World Champion and GCW World Champion, Jon Moxley. Number 2, from Dragon Gate, Kota Minoura. And number 1, the King of Pro Wrestling Champion from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Shingo Takagi. And this isn't factored in with the most recent results from the G1, so tomorrow you will be seeing a shift with Will Ospreay and see if he can stay in the top 10 after that loss. Alright, best of the night. Since it's just me, I don't have to agree with Liz on anything. I could just, take whatever I want. But what is that? Because it wasn't exactly much good. The Honor No More promo was kind of dumb. Josh and Rich Swann's promo was fine. The Motor City Machine Guns and Kushida was fine. I'd honestly probably give it to Rosemary, Taya, and Jessica just because it's so goofy. I love this relationship going on, and it's probably the most entertaining thing, especially Rosemary's inflection with how she's reacting to Jessica. Nothing was really substantial about any of the promos. Maybe Jordan Grace's interview, which led to Vexed versus Mia and Jordan Grace, but it wasn't even that great of a promo, so I'll just say Rosemary, Taya, and Jessica. Alright, let's talk about Wrestler of the Night. The Wrestler of the Night tonight is Black Taurus. The dude killed it in that Fatal 4-Way. Absolutely incredible what he did. He is one of the few wrestlers, the few luchadors I've seen utilize power so well. He is insane in the ring. If you haven't seen a Black Taurus match, you definitely should. I mean, I think it was him versus Bandito, or is a tag match with both of them involved. But it was incredible. I think that was at Ric Flair's last match. And then this match was nothing different. This was absolutely amazing from him. So, Black Taurus, Wrestler of the Night. Alright, match of the night. This is no contest. I mean, the six-man elimination and the Fatal 4-Way to begin were both very fun matches. They were both great. Both the six-man was great for storytelling and was just a fun match all around. The Fatal 4-Way was some shit I'd never seen before. It was stunning. But what takes the cake, in my opinion, is Chris Bay versus Mike Bailey. They absolutely pulled out a banger. Amazing match. If you didn't watch tonight's Impact, definitely go check it out because these two guys are killers in the X Division, and this match is a perfect display of that. Alright. So, those are our best of the night. Thank you for watching tonight's Impact Wrestling recap. It was a pretty short one. When I'm here, it is very short. when it's just me. So thank you all so much for watching. Follow and subscribe. We won't be live this weekend because nothing's going on this weekend. We'll be back on Monday for our 2K22 live stream. We will be doing Payback, our pay-per-view, big main event, which will be Josh Alexander versus Tommaso Ciampa for that World Championship. And after that, Tuesday, normal 2K22 stream. And then Wednesday, Thursday will be our regularly scheduled Dynamite and Impact post shows. Thank you all so much for watching. Follow and subscribe. All of our stuff, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Spotify. It's all Pinfall Podcast. Brand new episode of the Universal Pokemon Federation out now at upfworld.com and on our YouTube. So go check all that out. Show us some love. And we'll see you on Monday for some 2K22 action. Have a great night, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.